Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a magic archer build in Baldur's Gate 3. This will get full spellcasting progression, so we get level 6 spells, it's going to get 2 attacks, it's going to get some slashing flourishes from the bard, a fighting style, and an elemental resistance from the ranger, and the Bladesinging wizard will be involved because it's going to give us the ability to learn any spell from a scroll. The Ranger Knight can also give us heavy armor proficiency if we want to forego the Blade Song there as well, so we got a few different options. I would recommend starting off with the Bard, however, as the Bard does have a pretty easy start, and you take it up to level 6 and then respec, or you can start off with the Wizard, as this is going to give us the very powerful Booming Blade cantrip, which is able to power up our Hat of the Storm Scions power, and there's also some cool interactions where we can get arcane acuity from our bow attacks, which I'll be showing off in this video, and there's 2 specific items for that. Now, we'll take obviously Booming Blade. I like to have Shocking Grasp to get away, and then also Mage Hand because it can throw water bottles or health potions for you. Minor Illusion can start combat by pulling enemies into specific locations. And for our overall spells, I would recommend always having the Shield and Magic Missile. Mage Armor is nice if we want to go with clothing, but we can wear a light armor choice, so that works as well. Depends what you prefer. Long Strider, Thunderwave are also nice spells to have. Grease is great for the non-concentration crowd control. And something like Chromatic Orb can also give us a thunder damage option. Or Find Familiar, although we can learn this from the Ranger as well. I'd actually recommend learning it from the Wizard. And for the ability points, this is dependent on a couple stats. When we're just starting off, this would be the stat spread to go with. So 16 Dexterity, 14 Constitution, and 16 Intelligence is our spellcasting modifier as the Wizard. However, later on in the game, we can get the Gloves of Dexterity or the Constitution Amulet to be able to dump both of these stats. And also there is the Circlet of Intelligence, so you hypothetically can dump your intellect as well and put those points into charisma to take that up to 16 if you want to have spellcasting from your bard side. However, you don't really need it. We're going with the bard for the slashing flourish that they get at level 3, so you can forego that and focus mostly on just these stats here. Level 2 subclass, we're going Bladesinging. This gives us the Blade Song, which will give us a +3 eventually to our armor class. It starts level +2 to armor class, increasing our movement speed, which is really nice to have an extra 3 meters. Advantage on acrobatics, so we're not going to get shoved as much, and a +2 to constitution saving throws, eventually +3, able to hold our concentrations a little bit better in combat. So that's solid. We also get to take a couple more spells, so we can go with some of those there. We get a Bladesinging weapon. This is just going to replace the quarterstaff, and then we're going to prepare spells like this. You can take the Find Familiar as it's got a blind ability, so you can use the Raven to apply disadvantage on the enemy's attack rolls early game. At level 3, we got ourselves a very powerful spell with Hold Person, and Scorching Ray is also nice too. We can learn this from the Bard, so it just depends if you're going to be using an item to cover one of those stats to give yourself the charisma points. Alternatively, Misty Step, more mobility is always a good thing. Scorching Ray, also really great damage. The ever-powerful Shadow Blade, you don't have to use it, but you can. It's an option. And we'll equip Scorching Ray. Early in the game, Scorching Ray is going to be more damage than the bow unless you need to hit 2 targets. And at level 4, we get to take another type of spell, and I would recommend like Firebolt or Ray of Frost even, something like that. If you need to explode things, that's the way to go. Bone Chill also does have some mobility or some usefulness, so we can go with that as well. Now for our next leveled spell, again, Hold Person is likely one of the best ones we can go with. And Darkness is also a very useful spell because you can blind targets within it. Shadow Blade, again, is really good to have. If you want to maximize your damage, you're going to take Shadow Blade. If not, Mirror Image will increase our survivability with a +9 to our armor class. And yeah, Clouded Daggers is an okay spell as well. We'll also add in Hold Person there just to round things out. Misty Step can also be added in as its extra mobility, but we're not going to be doing too many melee attacks just yet. Now for our feat, we got a few options. We can go with an increase to our intelligence there, or our dexterity. But I actually think that going with Crossbow Expert is one of our best choices, because this, whenever we do crossbow attacks in melee range, we don't have disadvantage, so we can use our crossbows. And that's going to give us some of the best damage options in the game. It'll also buff up our piercing shots to do extra damage there. So that can be nice as well. But what we want to do is we can set up our bow to give ourselves arcane acuity. Once we have high arcane acuity, we can then spellcast, and we're going to have like a plus like 25, 26 to our overall spell save DC. Crossbow Expert is great. Also Sharpshooter if you want to maximize damage, but it does give you a lower attack roll, whereas this will boost it by not giving you disadvantage. So you got a couple options there you can go with. I think Crossbow Expert works really well though. Level 5, we get ourselves some level 3 spells, with Fireball and Lightning Bolt being 2 of the best damage options you can go with. Counterspell is also a really nice thing to have, and even things like Haste and Glyph of Warding are other options. We will roll with that there. We'll add on Fireball. It's just nice to have a huge area of effect spell like one of these two whenever you want to spend a level 3 spell slot. But this is when we get our extra attack. And this is big because now we become a more casting focused and archer focused character because we can attack twice now with our bow. We're going to want to take Counterspell, and Haste is extremely nice to have as well. Now for our prepared spells, I would recommend Shadow Blade's not a bad one to have, or Lightning Bolt as well. I also recommend having Counterspell at all times, and you can go with something like this to round out our overall damage. Then we can learn spells from scrolls, so not too much to worry about there. We'll then add in, we got two options. We can go with a couple levels of the Ranger or a couple levels of the, or 4 levels of the Bard. I want to get that extra feat, so we're going to go with this here. We can take Minor Illusion and Friends, if you want, the face of the party. And for our spells that we'll be selecting here at next level, Healing Word is a nice one to have. Dissonant Whispers, like we're not going to be really using too many of these too much. You can take Thunderwave and remove it from the Wizard, and even take Longstrider at next level and remove it from the Wizard, and then just use the Wizard for other spells. We also get the Jack of all trade, adding half proficiency bonus, and the Song of Rest, which is great to have. And then we'll take Longstrider here. That's really all we want. The ritual spell, so we can buff our team up with it. Level 3 gives us our College of Swords, and we want this for the Slashing Flourish. Defensive Flourishes are nice too, to increase your armor class by 4. However, the Mole Flourish is good too. Slashing Flourish lets us attack the same enemy twice with a ranged attack. What's nice about that is we're stacking Arcane Acuity doing this. So, Slashing Flourish is great. We also have the Slashing Flourish melee, but I'd prefer, since this is an archery style build, it probably works better this way. We can also add the 2 weapon fighting to add our ability modifier to our offhand crossbow attacks. And then for the next level spell, we can take Hold Person and remove that from the Wizard if you want to cast it with your Charisma. I did dump Constitution for the amulet, so I put the points into our Charisma, which gives us a +2. With Arcane Acuity, it's a +12, so it makes it a lot more likely to land. If you don't want to worry about landing your hits, Clouded Daggers always lands, so you can take that as well. Invisibility also gives you a bit of stealth, so that's another option there, but I think Hold Person is the best choice here. And then at level 4 of the Bard, we're going to get ourselves level 5th spell slot, but the reason we're taking this is for the feat. We also get another cantrip here, so we can take Vicious Mockery, because it is pretty funny of a cantrip. And if we have the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel, we can do this as a bonus action every turn, which is nice, because it doesn't require a spell slot. And then for our next leveled spell here, you can take even Silence to give yourself like a nice area of effect shutdown if there's a lot of casters that you want to stop. Shatter is good too. Invisibility. I like just even having Silence. It's kind of like an like a Witch Hunter style. Typically our archers with magical abilities. Now here we can take an ability score improvement. We can boost our dexterity up to an 18, which will give us better armor class, as well as better ranged attack rolls and initiative. And we can also go with something like Sharpshooter. This gives us a +10 to our ranged attack damage, making us pretty deadly with a bow. And I'm wearing the Ballist armor, which will double piercing damage. So with the Crossbow Expert and Sharpshooter, we can do close range attacks, arrow of many targets, and then we can literally just do a lot of damage all at once and apply reverberation on the enemy. Level 5 Bard, I wouldn't recommend. At this point, I think it's best to put our last 2 levels into the Ranger, because this will give us, if we want, heavy armor proficiency, so you can go full in on like the armor persistence if you'd like. I also just like to go with the Bounty Hunter here, so you can get an Ensnaring Strike that's powered up. It's just a bow attack with a spell, so it kind of fits the theming of this. And I think it's an underrated, it's a spell that not a lot of anyone uses really, so I'll put it on in here. Wasteland Wanderer Fire is nice, and Cold. If you find you're going against more cold enemies, you can always change this around, but I think fire is the most common damage type out of these. Poison also is pretty common as well, but we're gonna go with fire just due to the Act 3 fights that we'll be going through. And level 2, this can give us the Ensnaring Strike there. Hunter's Mark's nice, but it does require concentration, so that's something to keep in mind. Speaking of animals, and another spell, it's not a bad one to have. Fog Cloud if you want a little bit of stealth. And yeah, you could use Hunter's Mark if you really want to buff up your overall range damage, because this will give you additional 1d6 of the damage type. So yeah, it's kind of your choice there. But the fighting style, archery, +2 to offset the sharpshooter penalty of a -5. You can go defense with +1 to armor class, but it depends if you want more, I guess, survivability or ability to hit your shots, which I think is the better choice in the action economy of Baldur's Gate 3. So archery, missing a shot is not great, but if we can deal that extra damage, it's nice. And my favorite part of the Bladesinging Wizard is we get full spell progression, we can learn spells from scrolls, and we get that extra attack. So here we go, we got Chain Lightning, Odaluk's Freezing Spear. You can also cast spells from scrolls too, so that's another nice thing. Especially when you stack up Arcane Acuity, you can just continually spam Odaluk's Freezing Sphere. But as I mentioned, we got a cold or a thunder damage focus. I like to go thunder damage with the Hat of the Storm Scions power. Now, you do have to have another piece of gear, and if you don't have it, go with the Helmet of Arcane Acuity. But with this, we can use the Drake Throat Glaive here, and this is where it gets really cool, because if you take your character, and we're going to use our range attack, we are using Gaunter Mail here, but with Crossbow Expert, we want to have the Hellfire Hand Crossbow, and then the offhand, we want to have the Nair Misser. Although you can swap those around if you want to use this in your main hand. This gives you a magic missile spell as well, but this will also give you the ability to hit a target. But we want the piercing damage due to the ballast armor, so we're going to put that. And you can also, again, then go Fire Stoker in the offhand. But we're going to pop out and hold out a melee attack here. This is going to bring this and make this our main hand weapon. Then you're going to take someone with the Drake Throat Glaive and go the Draconic Elemental Weapon, Thunder. And you're going to pop that on. Now our crossbow will have thunder damage applied. And you can see there we do a 1d4 on our ranged attacks. What this means for us is Arrow of Many Targets can hit multiple targets, apply thunder damage to them. This is going to proc our thunderous acuity here, so whenever we deal thunder damage, they gain arcane acuity. On top of that, we also have the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies, which will give us reverberation for 2 turns when we do thunder, lightning, or radiant damage, which we're doing thunder, so that stacks reverberation. And if you have the Illithid ability drain, this will stack 2 stacks reverberation from the ability drain dexterity that we would do with our crossbows. So this becomes really strong altogether. On top of all that, the ballast armor is going to double our piercing damage. So yeah, within 3 meters, we're going to want to make all of our attacks, and we get a +2 to initiative. So we're likely going to go first. And then for our main hand weapon, we can't use a shield, unfortunately, but I personally like using Fowler Alluve. It unfortunately doesn't trigger the Hat of the Storm Scions power, but that's another way we can get extra damage, because the Shrieking Song will give us even further thunder damage. And then we can take that off because we got the Blade Song to be able to give ourselves a +3 to our armor class and all the benefits. I also have the Caustic Band on for damage riders. And the Coruscation Ring, whenever we deal, if you have someone with a light weapon, you can apply Radiating Orbs with your arrows, which is really nice. But we can also go with some of the other rings, like the Ring of Spiteful Thunder. So when the wearer takes thunder damage or deals thunder damage to a reverberating creature, it becomes dazed unless it succeeds a Constitution saving throw. Why that's good is then we can also go with something like, if we want to throw in the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel, we can do Command, and when a target's dazed, they have disadvantage on their saves. I guess Hold Person. So if we did Hold Person, they would have a disadvantage on that save. Things like Tasha's Hideous Laughter as well. So that is another option if you want to go with and apply Dazed on the enemy. I like to go with also the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel. That works well too. So if you want to take out the Caustic Band and put that ring on. I have the Amulet of Greater Health for better overall health. But you can also go with the Perioptic Wound Closure, Spell Savant, Amulet, something like that. And I also like to have, instead of the Gloves of Belligerent Skies, is the Wondrous Gloves here, because this will give you an additional use of Bardic Inspiration. We have 3 of it, and this will give us 4, and it gives us a +1 to armor class. So that's nice if you don't have another Bard on your team. You could also go with the Helldust Gloves, but I think that using Gloves of Belligerent Skies to be able to apply Reverberation is much better for our team. So I'll show you what this looks like here now in combat. So for our first turn in combat, we want to invoke our Blade Song here. It's just going to give us more survivability. So that'll get our armor class up to 23. Now we want to first start off by getting our Arcane Acuity stacked up. So if you can run into a place where you can apply multiple of your Shrieking Songs on people, what we want to do is then go in with an Arrow of Many Targets, which you can see applies our thunder damage on it, and then find the target that you're most likely to hit. And you're just going to go with that there and hope that it bounces around back to the others here, and thunder damage on all of them. And then we got ourselves a +8 to our Arcane Acuity off our first weapon action. So that gives us a spell save DC of 23 and 22 for the Bard, which is not too bad. And then next we're going to follow that up with another Arrow of Many Targets to use up our second weapon action. That is missing everybody. Unfortunately, these things happen. But we can then also use a bonus action, Hold Person, something like that. So we're not too worried. We could, if we have our Arcane Acuity hypothetically is high enough to do something like a Chain Lightning or Luke's Freezing Sphere or Wall of Ice, these are high damage magic spells that we want to equip and use whenever possible. We don't have many concentrations outside of Hold Person, so you could use the Wall of Ice and follow up with a Vicious Mockery. We also again have Chain Lightning and Luke's Freezing Sphere, which are always nice spells to have as a spellcaster, so you can then create this difficult terrain for the enemy. That also dealt, we dazed that target, perfect. So since we didn't remove them from play, that's fine. We do have some more targets over here, and we can do a bonus action Hold Person. So We're going to upcast that depending on how many are in our area of effect, which most of them are here. So we'll go with a boom, or I guess level 5 of the hold person there, and we'll hit all targets, hopefully hold them in spot. And this is nice because it then skips their turn. So then we go, they're skipping their turns. We also have our mage hand here. So if we had any damage, we could use mage hand to throw a health potion at our team. So that's another nice thing that we can do. And they're just going to skip their turn. And the reason we want to have counterspell is for this exactly, because there's going to be people using command typically in most fights, and you want to be able to resist that if possible. So always save your reaction for that particular attack, because we don't want to break our concentration on hold person. And we're going to do a ton of damage to them because crossbow expert plus the sharpshooter, plus we got a if they had a lot of health, we would use a slashing flourish on them and do the melee, or we use slashing flourish and attack the same target twice. Yeah, with hold person giving us a free crit, the ballast armor giving us double damage, it's gonna take them out. But since we're gonna be nice, we're gonna spread the pain around and use arrow of many targets, and this is gonna still continue to keep boosting up our arcane acuity to max. We get critical hits, dealing a bunch of thunder damage. So then that gives us our spell save DC of 25 and 24, and they have, you see, 4 turns of reverberation, 4 turns of reverberation. So if we get another one, we can knock them prone. So we're gonna use an arrow of many targets again, just to be able to hit multiple targets. And they saved on the reverberation, but they became dazed from our ring. So they're going to get, if we were to use hold person, they would get hit pretty hard with that. So that could be a nice option. But we have multiple here that are all frozen, which is pretty crazy because we now have them in our, I set up the shrieking song from the, from our Fowler Alluve weapon there in Act 1. So then we can just go ahead here, attack with advantage, and this is going to spread through and apply reverberation on all of them, apply dazed on all of them. So then if they break hold person, we can always hit them again with it. Yeah, it is pretty crazy. So we still have our concentration of hold person. So what we'll do is we'll just use Vicious Mockery here. Free action, took out another target. So yeah, pretty strong. If you want to use your bonus action anytime, we got Ensnaring Strike too that we can hold a person in place with a range one. It's niche usefulness. Depends really what you're wanting to accomplish. We also got Hunter's Mark too, which we can always use as a level 1 bonus action spell slot. So we can apply that to someone to give ourselves some extra damage on there. And then what we can also do is go ahead with our BARD features and use the slashing flourish to attack, and also apply the reverberation off of that too. So let's go ahead there and do our nice double attack. Boom, boom. And that dealt a lot of damage, taking out that target, applying reverberation again on this one. And we also got some pretty fun arrows, like the arrow of Roaring Thunder, if we ever want to push someone back and actually give a, like, it feels correct to use something like that. It's thunder and a pushback. And then also, arrow of Ice is never a bad idea. Arrow of Darkness you can use to set up. If you got, there's a lot of items that can give you darkness vision you could use as well. And yeah, the special arrows are a nice feature of this class. We do, again, have spells that we can use, so we can go ahead with a lightning bolt as well, which if you have multiple targets there, we can always hit them with that. So that is a very strong magic archer build in Baldur's Gate 3. I love the multi-classes of the Bard with 2 levels of the Paladin, so adding in 2 levels of the Ranger for the fighting style, heavy armor proficiency, fire damage resistance, and Ensnaring Strike is pretty cool. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already. I'll see you all in the next video.